Hey there, Julia here. This is always one of my favorite videos. This is my 2024 main planner / bullet journal flip through. For 2024, I used a Papertess Designs B6 yearly notebook. This is a pre-printed planner, but I did bullet journal inside of it. And I think over the year, I learned a lot about myself, my habits, and what I think about bullet journaling versus planning. The lines are so blurred. So whether you're into bullet journaling or traditional pre-printed planning, I hope that you find some inspiration here as we flip through the spreads. Opening this up, I typically have the cover on the outside here, but as we got later into 2024, it was more comfortable to have this cover grounded in this back pocket here. I'm not going to go too much into detail on the planner or the cover because I do have a video going into detail on the specs of both and my thoughts on this planner, and I will leave that linked up for you below. I really do love this opening page. This sort of shelf pocket with these cutouts are from Procrastinating Mama on Instagram. I'll leave her linked below as well. But I hope this flip through is cozy. I'm going to try not to talk your ear off and just pop in when I have little nuggets to share. This is where I kept birthdays. I think this was meant to be the future log, but I didn't think that it had enough space. And typically birthdays take up a lot of space in my future log, so it was nice to have a spread just for those. And here's my future log, which is also a period tracker combo using the dates and numbers down the side. I also have these mini calendar stickers stuck in. Those are available for 2025 in my shop. This is my admin checklist, which I come back to every week, which is why it's tabbed here, but this is reusable. As well as this whiteboard space where I typically hold numbers for tax stuff, color codes, things like that. Getting into January, I think I was just a little nervous about media to use on this paper. In 2023, I used a much thicker multimedia paper, and so I was really light-handed with the color here. I do believe this is fountain pen ink that I'm coloring with in here. After each monthly calendar, you'll see a blank spread, and I've utilized that for a few different purposes. For January, I split up sort of a media tracker here, invoices that need to go out, and things for the Etsy shop. I have a habit tracker here and a yearly focus check-in, and I really love the flexibility of this blank spread. And then we get into the weeklies and the dailies. During the beginning of the year, I was putting work notes in the daily pages and then marking them with a Stalogy dot sticker once I put this information in a Notion database. Later on, I ended up switching my work notes into a separate little TN insert that I put back here in this pocket, but you will see some meeting notes throughout at least the first little bit of the year. I think early in the year, I was very intimidated by having 7 pages for dailies because I was used to just having a spread for a weekly setup and not just so many pages. I got a little more comfortable with it as we go along, but it's so funny to look and see how chaotic these daily pages are. I started doing some journaling, media reviews, things like that. And then we get into February, which is this UFO and hearts theme. I do believe that this was done before the Tortured Poets Department by Taylor Swift came out, but it's definitely down bad coded. Here I tried something different with my usual dashboard breakout here and then a habit log. So I just logged down when I did anything that related to the habits I wanted to do for that month. I got a little bit more comfortable and tried a Dutch door here, but I didn't use it all. Yeah. So I thought cutting it down would help me see the events for the month and make better use of all of these daily sections. And we get into March here, which is a super cute clover and coin, kind of St. Patrick's Day theme. And I use fountain pen ink again here to do all of the coloring. For that blank spread this month, I still kept the media tracker here, but I also included a little spring clean checklist that I didn't really use very much. I also just did some fun swatches here with some of the colors that I was using to color in these clovers, and then this is the focus log. And you can see that the dailies start looking a little more confident. I kind of pull back on the decoration, making it very subtle. And there's a lot more consistent journaling happening here as well. You can see that this is the first week I start using an index cutter to mark the beginning of a week. So if I'm in some of these daily spreads, I can quickly get back to the weekly page to check out all of my tasks I have here. Then we get into April. I was feeling spooky, missing Halloween vibes, I think. And so I went with this lava head theme, which is an old illustration that I did and really loved, I think in high school or shortly after high school anyways. So everything's really drippy and bubbly. And again, I use fountain pen ink to color a lot of this stuff in. I would also keep note of how the different ways I split up this tasks section here. Sometimes I break it up between work and personal. Sometimes I break it up between priorities this week and later. This particular week, I've broken tasks up into priorities and then just a task dump. Here we were in Tucumcari and ran into someone who loves fountain pens. They had a bunch of fountain pens and I was just trying them out here on the page. I started trying to learn black letter here. It says over the weekend I started a black letter Skillshare class. So you'll start seeing a lot more of black letter practice for the days. I kind of sprinkle those throughout the rest of the year. This is one of my favorite daily pages. I regret this. Yeah, for some reason the pen that I was using here was just feathering. The pen and ink combination just was not it. And then we get into May, which I decided to not have a definite theme. It ended up looking a little Taylor Swift Tortured Poets Department coded as well, but I really love it. It has a very cozy beginning of summer vibe, and it was just fun to do whatever I felt like and use up some washi tape. I'm pretty sure I used up a lot of washi tape, a lot of PET tape here. Also, again, using fountain pen ink to color in elements throughout. So here's where I started doing the focus forecast, which was looking at my yearly focus areas and writing down what I would love to do for that month in relation to those. And then the log is what I actually did this month that relates over to the focus forecast. And then I kept my media log here as well. This week is also interesting because we were out of town, but it wasn't all play. It was mostly work with a little bit of play. And so my task list is broken down to what I want to do here and then what I needed to do whenever we got home. Yeah, I just love how we go from this very neutral spread to this very colorful spread. I just had a lot of fun in May doing what I wanted to do, but still somehow just keeping it together. Barely. And now we're getting into June. This month I changed it up just a little bit and used color pencil here and just did these really cute little dessert doodles. I even started marking down when I was getting things in the mail and initial thoughts sometimes. So that was really fun as well. And that's going to be really fun to look back on later down the line. Still practicing my black letter, just changed the ink to something pink to go with the theme here. This is a sticker, an artwork by Kelly Gillerin. And then we get into July, which was a cozy summer cottage theme. I started being very loose with themes after a while. It just was more fun to do the dailies that way and not be super tied into a very rigid theme, but still having some sort of guidance so I don't feel like I'm just looking at a white page, like that fear of looking at a white page. Most of these stickers and PET tapes that you've been seeing throughout are from the washi tape shop. This was a different one. I had a lot of trips coming up in the summer, and so I split this page off into the different trips and any trip-specific tasks under the header. I do want to say I have a summer specific flip through that I'll leave linked for you as well, where I talk about how I manage traveling and journaling and planning and sort of the tips and tricks I used this year within these spreads for that circumstance. Fun little collage here and here. I do remember this page being tabbed because it is just a random social media content creation dump. I was feeling overwhelmed about all the things I wanted to do in regards to that, so I just needed to put them somewhere. I don't really check this ever now, but I remember it just feeling so good for it to just be somewhere. If I need to see it, I know that it's tabbed. And then we get into August, where I just had a blast doing all of these fountain pen ink gradients. Some of the gradients are smooth like this, some of them are just a little more chunked up, but either way, it was super fun. Here I tried to track some current events. I still want to do this somewhere, but I don't know if this was the best place to try that. This is Stationery Fest week, a very special week. It was my last hurrah before getting foot surgery, and I really tried to make the most out of it, and I had such a good time. So here, just lots of bullet points of the travels so that I could journal about them more in detail later. And then nothing on this daily because I was in surgery and pretty knocked out afterwards. And then I was right back to work the day after. I will say this was a fun way to get rid of some ink. So I have the week piled on this spread because I started my September setup a little too soon. I had like an extra spread and I'll show you what I did with that extra spread, but this worked out just fine too. I just didn't have space for the extra journaling and just the extra space to spread out here. But it was perfect just for my tasks, just to be super functional. And then here is my September cover page, which this is based on the branding that we did for our wedding. This is our wedding logo. This is just a pin that I have on my desk. This theme was kind of meshed with vignettes from my desk. So this is very, very fun to just look around me and pick something to draw in my typical sort of sketchy style. I really enjoyed how this theme turned out. Here I have some wedding reflections 1 year later, the lyrics to our first dance song, and this was that extra spread that I had, and I'm really glad that I utilized it this way. We have the monthly calendar. This is another sort of section of my desk. I have like a porcelain bunny in between my monitors, and this is an inkwell that my brother got me for my birthday. I have a task dump here. Again, this dashboard spread has changed so much throughout the year, but I'm really liking this one as well, where I just break the page down into 4 sections. In this case, work, social, personal, and focus, and just throw down tasks that have to do with those categories. If you're wondering what this key is, I really love Big Brother, the show, and I have a key above my desk that says my name on it. So I thought it was funny. Big Brother season was happening here, and so yeah. My little ink blotter rocker. My ink samples. Again, still practicing my black letter, slowly getting into capital letters. Like the Skillshare class that I took, I only learned lowercase. So yeah, I'm still in the throes of figuring out how to do capitals and numbers. I need to do numbers too. I got a very special pen set in September. It's a custom pen made with parts of my bouquet. I have a whole video on that pen as well that I'll leave linked, but I had to do a page on that process and just the joy I felt getting that pen. Here I started titling my journaling entries, which I really like too. So if I'm flipping through like this, I know what all of these words are about just at quick glance. And then we get into October where, again, I just wanted to paint with my fountain pen ink and have a little bit of fun with the like spooky witchy vibes. And so here is my cover spread for that. Monthly calendar. I love this little Ouija board pinchette illustration there. Here's my dashboard, sort of working through a larger task list broken down into work, social, personal, and things that are happening next month. We get into the first weekly. This is fun. These are funny because I was just wanting Everyday Explorers Co. to re-release their alphabet stickers. And I sent emails and she was like, oh, they're coming soon. So I was like, okay, I'll wait. And then I realized designer, have a sticker machine. So I made my own in a few different colors. I also made stickers of the like lava head illustrations from April and still practicing that black letter style lettering with the pilot parallel. I love this. I'm gonna make a sticker out of this little hat. So cute. This is when we went to Denver, which was for a concert for the Colorado Pen Show. And so we did do some work there since we were there for the entire week, but I still have my when we get back section here and while in Denver. New weekly. As you can see so far, the theme is very loose. I just wanted to have a little bit more freedom and do sort of like surrealistic, but also witchy illustrations, but use stickers and not really stick to a hardcore color palette or very strict and rigid theme. Okay, I remember this. This is fun. So look at this broom. Wow! I basically traced it from the previous page, but changed the colorway. Super fun. This long ghost. I like this page as well. Then revisiting a super old like bullet journal theme with this week, doing the candy corn. Poison apple. Need to make a sticker of that as well because that's really fun. Again, with fountain pen ink. Into the next week. And then we're into November, which is oddly enough a Mrs. Potato Head theme. How did I get here? So I was thinking, okay, November, Thanksgiving in the US. I've already done food themes for November before, and I just wanted to do something a little different, but I was still thinking about food and the foods that I love, and I was thinking about mashed potatoes, and I was like, oh, Mr. Potato Head. That would be kind of weird but fun. But then I was like, you know what's better than Mr. Potato Head? Mrs. Potato Head. And then I can do all of her little pieces scattered around the month. And so that's how I got here. Add some leaves because autumn, and bam, we have the Mrs. Potato Head theme, using my Tombow Fudenosuke to do the outlines and the fountain pen ink to color, and then using just like a white paint marker to go over and give some highlights. The calendar spread, she's left her glasses, her purse, her little arm. And then for this dashboard, I have a master work list, sort of like a work project inbox. Same for personal, and then just like a gift tracker for Christmas. Then we get into our weeklies. Here I was in Chicago for the Chicago Planner Conference, and so instead of writing tasks, I just did a bullet list of things that we did. I love this. Taylor Swift lyric. My boy only breaks his favorite toys, and like a frustrated looking Mrs. Potato Head. Like, I mean. Cute. And then we get into December, and for December's theme, I wanted to have some fun with these little ink bottle stamps that I got from Stationery Universe, and so I just turned these little stamps into ink bottle ornaments. And since I was inking up just a random assortment of pens in December, they were really just like my favorite pen and ink pairings from each month. And so the palette wasn't really a palette, and so I thought that having these little ink bottles filled with whatever colors that I wanted would allow for some cohesion. I also had this element going throughout the sort of gingerbread decoration. Switched up my dashboard for this month and did horizontal sections for work, social, void week, which is the week between Christmas and New Year. I typically just want to do some organization, some just prep for 2025. So that's what that section is about. And then just a space for notes, which I just ended up writing what I wanted to make for Christmas dinner. And then we get into the first weekly. And so you'll see these little bottles throughout filled with whatever I had closest to me at the time. But they turned out really cute. I entered a giveaway contest with the Juicy Broads, and you had to take a picture, like a holiday picture with a pin. I did win, which was awesome, but this was the little hat that I made for my pin. It's just sticker paper and like cotton swab ends, like Q-tip ends. You can see that as we move along to the end of the year here, there's not as much decoration, and that's mostly because I've been in bed recovering with the surgery. Right now, I'm non-weight bearing. By the time you see this, I'll be able to put a little bit of weight on my foot. So yeah, I just wasn't able to get up and get around to all of my supplies, but I did what I could when I could. For Christmas, I didn't have any tasks, so I just wrote about the day on this page. And then there was another weekly that started from December 29th to January 3rd, but I have set up a weekly in my 2025 planner for that week. And so I just want to be in the new planner when the new year starts. And so I just tore out those pages and I just have a couple of extra note pages here. And then in the back, you do get a January calendar. And so I've been working through the January calendar as well as any dates that come up the first half of 2025. Then back here, every year I have some sort of Big Brother spread because I love that show. So I have the cast here and a week by week, play by play, who was HOH, who was on the block, all of this stuff. I picked a favorite. I always pick who I think is gonna win, and I have gotten it at least once, I know. And then I have who actually won, America's Favorite House Guest, all of that. So very fun to put these together every year. And then back here we get very chaotic because there's not a lot of note pages back here in the back. So when that is the case, I tend to write on top of things and just get a little unruly. So on this side, I just have my planner index, which is my entire journal and planner lineup for 2024. And then I attempted to do a little index for the rest of these pages, but it did not stand. So back here, you'll just see lots of musings about Stationery Fest, about pens, meeting notes, things like that. There's not very many note pages back here, so. And then in the very back, I have planner specs and some pen samples. Whenever I set this planner up, I went to the product page and wrote down all the details just so that I knew how many pages were in here, the type of paper, etc. So when I'm asked, or if I want to reference later, I have that information here, whether or not the product page still exists. Back here, I just have a photo / bookmark, and that's about it. This is just a photo of me working on a nib that I printed on a thermal printer for fun. And then of course I have some blotter paper back here for when I'm writing with fountain pens. And that is my 2024 main planner. Let me know what you guys think. If you got any inspiration from this or ideas, I want to know down in the comments. Thank you so much for watching. Consider subscribing if you love content about planning, journaling, fountain pens, inks, stationery. And if you want to see what I'm cooking up for the new year, what I'm moving into, I will leave that setup video for you right here. Thank you again so much for watching, and I'll catch you all in the next one.